Two guys, two different opinions, one very low price. It's free! Welcome to the Cerebral Sessions.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? This is Colt coming back at you for episode 2 of the Cerebral Sessions, my little branch off of the Cerebral Entertainment podcast. Basically just my episode where I can talk about whatever I want for however long I want, and hopefully you guys will want to listen. So first order of business today, I want to just remind you guys, April 22nd at 2 p.m. we're going to be at the St. Francis Winery talking to Greg Camp and Christy Camp about their Deloachtown Brewery and talking about his passion for what he does and why he does it and all that kind of stuff. So anybody within an earshot of this podcast, if you would want to come out and hang out and have some tasty drinks and possibly get on the mic and give your opinions on what you think about the place, that'd be great. So to kick off episode 2, I want to kind of go over a little bit of a current event that's been going on, or a certain situation that happened that I'm sure everybody's aware of now, mainly because it's all over social media, it's all over the news, it's all over everything. I'm sure everybody's seen this whole United Airlines fiasco that's been going on. Apparently, you've got this guy who was a doctor who had already paid for his plane ticket. He was on the plane, and apparently the United Airlines had overbooked the flight, and which apparently happens all the time, which I didn't know this, but apparently this happens all the time, and they apparently at random picked 4 or 5 people to leave the plane, and this guy refused to. He was the only one of those people who refused to get off the plane, and at his refusal, he was basically forced to, and they knocked him out and drug him off the plane. So there's a video about it, or showing it and all that kind of stuff that's floating around, that's gone viral, and pretty crazy stuff. But just to give you guys a little insight onto it, I'm going to read an article from Julie Cresswell and Sapna Maheshwari, I'm guessing is that last name. This is from the New York Times. It's called "Videos of a Man Being Dragged Off a United Plane Ignites a Public Relations Crisis." And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to hit on a certain part that I thought was really interesting. So I'm going to start here. It says the odds of actually being booted from a flight involuntarily are quite low. Last year, airlines involuntarily bumped about 40,600 people, a fraction of the roughly 660 million passengers who flew. According to data from the Department of Transportation, about 434,000 people voluntarily gave their seats up for compensation. Airlines have oversold flights for decades, expecting several people not to show up for a flight. It is a strategy that ensures a full plane and maximizes profits for airlines. Typically, airlines begin bargaining with passengers at the gate, offering travel vouchers of $400 to $600. In the U.S., compensation maxes out at $1,350, but experts say the reward offers rarely get that high. While the Transportation Department said it was investigating whether the airline complied with rules regarding overbooking, it noted that each airline sets its own system and procedures for deciding whom to bump. United said it would review its overbooking policies. So, to me, this is crazy. Like I said, I had no idea that there was an overbooking policy. I guess if I really think about it, I can see it from the company's point of view. Because they're kind of covering their own butts as far as they have to expect that some people aren't going to show up for the flight and things like that. So if they overbook, then they're still guaranteed to get their money off of the seats. But then again, they're still having to basically bargain with people every time it doesn't work out the way they had planned it, and they overbook, and then they have to give people compensation for the flight that people already paid for that they thought they were going to get that they can't have now. Pretty crazy to me, I think. But anyways, so this video that's going around, this viral, is just insane. This guy, obviously refusing to get off the plane. I can't necessarily say that I blame him, but I definitely blame United and the security officers and who was on the plane that took the situation and made it the way it was. I definitely think there could have been other ways that this could have been handled. But anyways, I guess we can get away for some current events here. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about hobbies. So anybody who's listened to the podcast in the past knows that I'm a big gym freak, if that's what you want to call it. I love fitness. I love the entire bodybuilding world. I love listening to podcasts on it. I love reading about it, all that kind of stuff. It's just a big hobby of mine. And I was kind of overheard some people talking this week and talking about how they're so big into gaming and they love this certain game that they play all the time. And it's like as soon as they have a free spare moment in their time or in time, that's what they're doing. They're playing a game. And to each their own, I guess. If that's what you want to do, as soon as you get off work or instead of spending time with people or socializing with other people or whatever, you want to spend every waking moment that you can video gaming, that's fine. When I'm in the gym, I'm not necessarily socializing with people. I'm just in there to get my work done and leave, and it's a hobby either way. But I don't know if it's a judgment. I guess it kind of is a judgment, and that's probably bad on my part for judging anybody for what they want to do and how they want to live their life, because I can't tell people how to live or anything like that. But I just feel like people can use their time way more wisely than doing that constantly. It's right now 3:23 a.m. If anybody who knows me knows that I'm kind of on the opposite schedule than most people. I work nights where most people work days, and I kind of just have to fit in work. I don't really consider this work, but I kind of have to fit in things outside of work, just kind of fit them in wherever I can, because that's just how things roll, and you have to, if things are important to you, you've got to make the time to get it done. And you got to put in the work wherever it's needed. And, especially with our podcast, this is something we're trying to build up. And, we've got to keep the content out there and keep the content flowing for us to, make anything happen with that. So to stick with this gaming scenario a little bit, I kind of want to talk about lifestyles in general. When you think about, say, a gamer or whatever, and I'm not saying that this is an accurate stereotype. I'm just saying that it is a stereotype, at least in my mind. If I think of a gamer, I think of somebody who's constantly at home just playing video games. They got a bag of chips and Mountain Dew beside them, and overweight, and that's what I picture in my head. And of course, I don't picture anybody that's healthy. And I kind of want to use this as a segue into, I think that there's too many people out there who start out their kids way too young with an unhealthy lifestyle. And we may have hit on this in previous podcasts, but I want to go over it again. I think there's too many people who are, I'm going to go ahead and throw out the word lazy, too lazy to make a dinner or a lunch or a breakfast for their kids. It's much easier for them to just go to McDonald's 3 times a day, to let their kid eat chicken nuggets all the time and fries and whatever. And I think that this is a major issue right now. I think this is something that's contributing to child obesity like crazy. I think anybody can agree that if you look at younger kids now compared to 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's completely different. I mean, you've got children now who are walking around that are just way bigger than they should be. And why I think that is because technology has advanced so much and laziness has taken over our society. That can come from the parent or that can come from the child themselves. But I think it originally comes from the parents because they are the ones that are letting their child become lazy. I know when I was growing up, I was always outside. There were times where my mom would just tell me, you need to go outside. You need to go outside and play. You need to go outside and do something. And I was a very athletic kid, so I was constantly outside playing basketball. It didn't matter if it was snowing and there was ice on the ground. It didn't matter if it was raining. It didn't matter if the sun was shining. It didn't matter if it was 2 o'clock in the morning. We were always outside playing basketball. And I feel like that helped me out a lot in life. I never hit my bodybuilding kick until after high school. I wish I would have hit it a lot sooner, but I never did until after high school. And then even after high school, it took me a few years of being in the gym before I really started gaining the right mindset when it came to diet and food and things like that. I was always told, and I think most people who get in the gym at the beginning, they always tell you that your diet is the hardest part, but it's the most important part. People don't really think about that, and the reason being is because when you first start lifting or you first start exercising, you're going to see your best results right at the beginning. And that's because it's kind of putting your body through stress. It's putting your body through something that it's never been before, so it's got to kind of adjust itself to the factors that the stress that you're putting on it. So once I really looked into it and I started really focusing on my diet and I started really learning about foods and what certain kind of foods do to your body and the healthy kind of foods and what carbs and what sugars do and proteins and fats and all that kind of stuff, and the knowledge is out there. You just have to find it. And once you do, and you make it a habit and you make it a routine and you make it a mindset to stay healthy and to only, okay, I can't say only, but to stay with a certain healthy diet, I think your value of life becomes better, mainly because you feel better. The only downside is, especially like when you first get started and you start learning about things and you're walking through the store or whatever and you're throwing things in your shopping cart, and until you learn what kind of sugars and fats and carbs and all that is in everything you're trying to buy, you start having to pick up things off the shelf and read the back into the nutrition facts and see exactly what you're going to be putting in your body. And once you learn all that stuff, it becomes easier over time. But the most interesting thing to me is how you start looking at other people. You think about anybody that you see in the store or wherever you're at that's really overweight, or you see somebody that's really skinny, or you see somebody that's really buff, or anything like that. You start looking at people differently, and you start thinking about what kind of plans that these people could be on to make themselves healthier, or or think about that's real buff person and think about what they are doing to put themselves in the kind of situation that they're in with their health, with their life, and their gym schedule and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really ashamed to say that I do make judgments on people. Once you get a mindset and once you get a lifestyle going, you tend to look at other people and think if they're kind of running the same lifestyle as you are, and you judge them based off of the way they look, how they act, things like that. And it's just a matter of wondering, were they raised to be this way? And, I think about what their mindset is as far as, do they care that they're in the shape that they're in, or do they have desires to be better? Because I think anybody can be better. And the downside to that is I see these people getting tummy tucks or getting lap bands or whatever, trying to lose weight because they can't do it themselves, or they've tried and the diets just don't work. They can't find one that works for them, or the exercising just isn't working for them, or whatever the excuse may be. And I'm not saying that like the lap bands and whatnot don't have their place, because I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they've worked for some people. I just don't think it's the healthiest route. And I think that if you're going to spend the money to pay for something like that, which I think insurance pays for some people now, but if you're going to spend the money to pay for something like that, I think that you could have spent the money on a personal trainer and just put in the work and put in the effort to get where you needed to be, or where you wanted to be, where you feel comfortable. We are living in a society now that really worries me, because not only do we have a lot of lazy parents out there who, like I said earlier, just feeding their kids junk just so they don't have to cook to feed them. We have a lot of lazy kids out there who are just on their tablet or on their phone or on their video game system or whatever all the time, and the parents don't do anything about it, because as long as the kid's not out hurting anybody or bothering the parent, then the parent doesn't care. That's fine. And then we have kids who are actually out there trying their hardest and that are still getting trophies even though they are not the best on the team. They, last place teams, last place kids, still getting trophies. This is an entirely other podcast that I could get into, but I'm not going to now. It's always been that life isn't fair. Life isn't fair to anybody. Some people are born into greatness, if you want to say. Some people are born into money. Some people are born into poverty. Some people are lucky enough to be born where we are now. Some people are very unfortunate to be born in another patch of dirt on the other side of the world in Ethiopia, where they have no clothes, no food, all that kind of stuff. Life isn't fair, and it can't get easier for anyone unless they put in the effort. And I firmly believe that if you're not willing to put in the effort, then you deserve to not reap the benefits of having a great life. I was always raised that work ethic is everything, and if you're not willing to put in the work, then you don't deserve the benefits. That's just plain and simple the way it is. And it's always been, if you feel down and out, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep on going, because life isn't going to stop. You just have to make it what you want it and get it the way you want it, but it's not going to be handed to you. You've got to put in the effort to get it the way that you feel like it should be. So I just want to leave you guys with that today. I know it's not necessarily much, but it's just what I had on my mind this week, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to get on our Facebook page, get on our Twitter, get on our Instagram, anywhere you can find us. We're just about everywhere right now. Get on there, hit us up, give us your thoughts, give us some ideas, give us some topics to talk about. We're here to serve you guys. So anything that you got, we're here to listen. And last but not least, make sure to keep your brains warm, and I will see you next time.